So this is the place value chart. I'm going to put a number in here, let's say 25. Now if I'm multiplying 25 by 10, say I'm timesing that by 10, really what's happening is everything is moving one space this direction. So the reason that is the great thing about the place value chart is if I go from ones to tens, tens are 10 times bigger than ones. And if I go to the next space, hundreds are 10 times bigger than tens. 10 times 10 equals 100. And that's really what's happening in each of these columns. If I go to the next column from hundreds, it takes 10 hundredths to make 1,000. So it's 10 times bigger. And if you go the opposite direction, whatever direction you're going, so I'm going this direction, it's 10 times smaller for each of these columns. So going this direction makes 10 times bigger, and this direction is 10 times smaller. So if I have 25, I'm multiplying my 10, the number is going to get bigger. So these numbers have to go over one space. So I'm going to redo it. This 2 would go over one space to here, which is here 2. 5 goes over one space. Now there's an empty spot here. That has to put 0, has to be placed there because you can't leave an empty space. So the answer would be 250. So 25 times 10, you can think of it as, okay, the decimal's here, just like it is up here. I'm going to move this decimal over one space because it's 10, times by 10, so it's one space. And I just put a 0 in that spot, so it's going to be 250. Let's look at just one more. Let's say it was 3.6 times 10. These numbers are going to move over one spot this way because it's going to make the number bigger. And so this 3 would be here, this 6 would be here. So the answer would be 36. So let's take a look at it this way. 3.6 times 10. Again, I like to just think of it as the decimal and moving that decimal place over one spot to make this number bigger. It's kind of what really happened here. It was here and it moved over one spot. So the answer is 336. Now when you multiply by a tenth, so let's say I have 0.1, so 0.1, let's say. That's a tenth. 0.1 is a tenth. It takes 10 of these to make one whole. So if I have 25 and I'm timesing it by a tenth, it really means I'm moving it down. It's really like doing 25 divided by 10. Because it takes 10 of these tenths to make one whole. So it's really like doing this. 25 divided by 10. So what we do is I have 25 here. I'm timesing it by 1/10. These numbers are now going this way. So the 5 would come over to here to this spot. 2 would come over to here, this spot. So it'd be 2.5. And again, if you didn't have the place value chart here, you could just think of it as 25 and the decimal right here, just like it is up here. And this number is going to get smaller because you're timing it by a tenth. It'd move over here, and that's why we have 2.5. So let's clear these. And try one more. Let's say 42.71 times by 1/10. So I have 42.71 times by 1/10. I'm really going to move all these numbers one space this way because this is saying it's a tenth of this. A tenth of this. So we need to move it, instead of 10 times, it's 1/10 of. So we're going to move it this direction. So this 1 would be moved over here. 7, 2, 4. So it'd be 4.271. And you can see down here, if I take this decimal, if I didn't have the place value chart, I like to think in my head of just moving the decimal rather than shifting all the numbers. So I'm going to take this decimal, make this number smaller. So it's going to be 4.271. It's going to move one space this way to make this number smaller. And this is the thing that messes people up, because if they see I'm timesing 42.71 times by something, it's going to give you bigger than 42. Normally that's what messes people up. It's actually getting smaller. It's really like dividing by 10. So we've done work with 42.71 divided by 10. And really that's moving this decimal over 1, or really it's shifting all these numbers over this way, one way, which moves that decimal place to here. So the number gets smaller.